Alright, so lots of FUD on the internet about tanking rogues, so I just wanted to record a quick video about tanking rogues and also how I am soloing Lord Cobran in Wailing Caverns. So I could kill this 1v1, but I'm just stealthing past everything because it's easier. You can boost people with this, so if you have a mail wearer, as far as I know, they can stand at the start of the instance. When you loot the boss, they'll get a pop-up, and you could boost them. I've seen people selling those for like 6-7 gold, and they'll get the mail. But check that works with a friend, maybe, if you want to start doing that. I haven't tested it myself, but you can sell boosts for the loot this way. Let's just talk a bit about tanking rogues. So obviously I'm 12 out of 12 on runes. I've done the ridiculous rep grind for the tanking rune as well as the ridiculous quest line for this. I'll put up a separate video about how to get those in a minute, because again, lots of FUD about how to get specific runes going on. I don't normally make WoW content, but again, I like to do this because there's just a lot of confusion. My gear setup at the moment, I have toughened leather gloves, I have the Defias blackened armor, I have Cruel Barb and the Iron Knuckles. I don't think this is mandatory, but it is proving quite nice just to interrupt the boss every now and then. I do have a bit of a Ring of Defense as a meme, and I do have some stam gear and int gear and that kind of thing. But I wouldn't say that my gear is anything out of the ordinary. 10 armor from the Defias set, toughened leather gloves, super easy, Defias armor, super easy, Cruel Barbs, easy enough to get. So that's my setup. I'm obviously running main gauche, whatever it's called, Blade Dance, and just a Flesh Wound. I started doing this just sort of randomly because my friend was like, why don't you just try and solo it after a WC run? And it worked, so I've done it now, I think 8 or 9 times, and I find that I can pretty consistently do it. If there are 2 mobs spawned, if there are 3 mobs spawned, it's a little bit trickier. And by mobs, I mean he has ad snakes around him. He either has 2 or 3. And if there's 2, then it's fine. If it's 3, then it can be a bit trickier. But you can solve all of those problems by A, having a health potion, and just using that. Right, I don't have any because I'm just doing this a bit randomly. If I did, I wouldn't die at all. Or B, having Vanish Powder again, which I don't have because I ran out, and I'm just kind of doing 1 or 2 last runs before I go back to the city. So if you have Vanish Powder or you have a healing potion, those would make this much, much easier. But even without those, when there's been 2 mobs, I've been able to kill him and survive with 10%, 15% life. When he's got 3 mobs, he usually gets to kill me before I can get him down, which is what's happened this time. So I'm actually just going back in after I've killed his ads, and if I had Vanish Powder left, this obviously wouldn't be necessary. So other than that, it's pretty easy. If there were ads up, what you're going to do is I would open with a Garrote on Lord Cobran. I would use that 1 point of combo to immediately trigger Blade Dance because you want that 20% resistance. And I'd also be starting the pull with Evasion up, right? So if you're pulling the ads and him together, you want to Garrote him, trigger Blade Dance straight away, and then also trigger and then also trigger Evasion, so that while there are 3 mobs attacking you, you're taking minimum damage, right? He can kill you anyway. You are an evasion tank, so once or twice he has crit me, but aside from that, this has actually been a fairly easy pull. So now that he has no ads, you'll see how easy this is. So if you really wanted to have an easy time of it, you could just kill whatever ads he has, vanish, and then just do it like I'm doing now. Okay? So open with a Garrote into a Blade Dance immediately, kick the lightning, well, I didn't kick the lightning bolt, but I'll kick the next one. And we just go through it like that. I'm not going to be able to kick this one, am I? Okay. Kick this one. As long as I kick a decent number of lightning bolts and I go into this with evasion up, which you can do very easily if you're using vanishing powder, then I won't really have a problem when he shifts into his thing. He even got a healing touch off there, but it's not going to matter because he's not actually hitting me. He's constantly disarmed, and he's constantly just, I'm even building combo points. And then he shifts, and I'll just use evasion here. You can kind of see the damage uptick from his Cobra form is actually quite high. But of course, with combo points and stuff like that, easy to get him down. And of course, he drops the green robe again. That's number 10. So what can you do? So that's really a guide, just a bit more just about how I've set up my rogue. I really think that you want a slow main hand, obviously, because you are just doing Sinister Strike, so you have normal weapon damage. This is your main combo builder. Main Ghost uses offhand weapon damage, which means I would ideally want a slower offhand with higher weapon damage, maybe even another Cruel Barb, but this is the weapon I've got. I don't want a fast weapon in my main hand because that will increase the amount of parries that my the people I'm fighting get, which will increase the amount of damage I take. So ideally I would just have 2 Cruel Barbs, but I haven't had the second one drop yet. So I think that's the ideal setup for tanking rogue, is 2 slow weapons. Aside from that, I've got some armor patches on. I'll probably put them on the rest of my gear. I really am just going for agility and stamina. There's not really an argument for anything else. You know, agility increases your dodge, stamina increases your health. Really, you just want to stack agility, stamina, and armor as a rogue tank. Items that I'm looking for, if we think about things that are going on, I obviously want leggings of the Fang. I'm not really that keen on any of the other Fang gear, unless it has particularly good stats. Like, I need a glowing lizard scale cloak, but actually I don't think you really want that. I think the main thing you want is really just these legs, and then you probably just want stuff from Deadmines. Like, you obviously want Cape of the Brotherhood, you obviously want Black and Defias armor, you obviously want Cruel Barb. You can run the Defias set for plus 10 armor, but genuinely, like, once you talk about Cruel Leather Gloves, Black and Defias armor, and the green legs that I'm farming right now, I don't really think you care much more about other blues. You know, Shadowfang Keep doesn't really drop anything effective, and you don't really get much else out of there. I mean, Meteor Shard, obviously, DPS rogues love it, but for tanking, I think it's too fast. I think you want 2 Cruel Barbs or equivalent swords. And I would say that for the rest of the slots, all you're really looking for is any level 21, 24, 25 piece of gear, right, that has good stats, right? You can see these boots are level 25, plus 4 agility, plus 4 stamina. If I had the equivalent in every single slot, I would be doing very, very well as a tanking rogue. I might keep 2 Defias set just because of the 10 armor, but I don't think it's going to be that huge. So really just focus on those blues, the chest, the gloves, the legs. If it's a decent price on your server, you can get the... Where is it? I probably don't have it here. If it's a decent price on your server, you can get the belt that you can craft from Wailing Caverns, the Deviate belt. For me, it's 20 gold. I don't think it's worth it right now, despite the fact that I have a decent chunk of money and a decent inventory. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. In terms of... Oh, I'm getting killed by a patrol, but that's fine because I'm leaving. I'm leaving here now anyway. So I was going to plan to die and Hearthstone regardless. So... all I'll really leave it with is... oh, yeah, sorry. Let's just look at talents. A friend of mine just reminded me. So I've gone for the very, very straightforward talent build. You want improved Sinister Strike because you're using both Sinister Strike and Main Gauche, both of which are affected by talents that modify Sinister Strike. So you want both of those. And that's really, you know, how you're going to get your threat and keep it going, as the energy reduction is massive. You want dodge, but it's just hard to find enough points for dodge. And you want deflection, obviously. Parry is huge. You want riposte. It's amazing for tanking instances because you can disarm mobs. It's amazing for keeping threat because it's very energy efficient, and it comes up off global cooldown, so you can like stab someone with Sinister Strike, follow up with a quick riposte. Like, there's a lot of other stuff going on, and I've gone for precision because, again, we're talking about reducing the parry chance of your opponent. So precision means they're less likely to parry you, which is a lot of how tanks die early on, is getting parry hasted from the boss, where the boss parries one of their attacks and then they deal faster attacks back to you. Obviously, ideally, I would have dodge up to 5% as well, as that's a really great tanking talent. But I think this is the optimal thing that I've gone for now. Like, you can see other things that might make it easier to level. I've cut like improved gouge and things like that in favor of this more tank build. There are other things I would love to get from other like trees. I mean, obviously you're looking at Ghostly Strike, which I would love to have as a, just as a brilliant cooldown to increase dodge. Main Gauche does a similar thing, but that's what it is. Just to finish off this video, a lot of confusion about where to get tanking runes for rogues. There are 3 main tanking runes: just a Flesh Wound, not between the eyes, Blade Dance, and Main Gauche. Okay, Blade Dance is the easiest to get. Most starter zones have a version of this. There are 4, I think there's 8 places to get this, 1 for each race. So that's fairly easy to find. The Night Elf one's fairly easy. You just go to the tower in Orbadine and go under the tower, and there's a place you can grab it. But genuinely look up a guide. It's really easy. Just a Flesh Wound requires Honored with this new faction. Just get chests, kill everything, and then prioritize going and turning in those chests. There's a lot of questions about this. The easiest way to get this rep is to find a mob spawn of roughly your level, so like 20 if you're level 25, that is close to a flight path to your capital city. Set your Hearthstone in the capital city, and then just go there, kill mobs until you get a chest spawn, hearth to your capital city, go or run back and fly, and just do that again until you get the rep. It took me about 6 or 7 hours, but I couldn't really find you couldn't really find an efficient farm spot then. I was just sort of killing gnolls in the wetlands and then running back, which was fine. I think the gnolls behind Red Ridge as well would be good. The problem as a rogue is you can't really AoE those down, so you kind of want to pick a mob that you can pick off one by one. And I found the mobs in the wetlands kind of gave me, I could pick off the gnolls at the side and they respawned pretty quickly, so I thought that was a really good farm. In terms of the other rune, the Main Gauche, so when you've done that, you get Honored with this faction. You buy the rune for 450. What you can also do, which I think might get patched, but until it does, is you can also item restore those chests. So there's 2 important things to know about the chests. The first thing is that the starter zone chests that you get, which get you to friendly, don't get you from friendly to honored. They stop giving you reputation. But the other chests that drop when you're above friendly will keep giving you reputation. You can only carry one of them at a time, but what you can do is destroy them from your inventory, and then you can pick up another one. What that does is it puts them into Blizzard Item Restore, and if you type Blizzard Item Restoration, you can go to that website. You can restore as many of those as are in your item restoration history, which goes to 60 items. So if you farm all day, you could potentially put 10 of them in there and then restore them all at one time rather than doing them in one wave. Some people have been experimenting with that. I didn't do that because it just didn't feel practical. I just went and farmed them deliberately. And I also grinded on mobs from 23 to 25. And while I was getting XP by just killing tons and tons of mobs, those were dropping and I was taking them back and getting the rep that I needed. So I got my levels and my experience, and I just recommend people do that. Find a good farming spot, go there at level 23, just start to pick apart every mob you see, get the chests, fly back when you get them, turn in the rep. For the other one, the Main Gauche, you have to go to Ratchet. You talk to an NPC called Grizzly in the inn. He gives you 3 quests, which don't go into your quest journal, but you can find them on Wowhead, that tell you to get 24 fish oil, 20 dark iron ordnance, and 16 hyper shredder defibrillator, whatever they're called. So the easiest way to do that with the fish oil, there are some Murlocs you can farm them with at a group in Hillsbrad. You can also get it from BFD. It wasn't that expensive on the auction house, so I just got to 25, did a load of quests, because quests at level 25 give you 1 to 2 gold each, and then just bought the fish oil. The next one that's easy enough to get is the Dark Iron Ordnance. There is a Dark Iron town in the wetlands, and there are also camps to the southeast of that town, both of which have level 30 Dark Iron elites. You want to form either a group or a raid group. I did this with 30 people. The Dark Iron Ordnance is personal loot, so everyone will get a decent share of them. And you can just farm them until you have 20. And then the last one is the Shredder Hyper... there's a shredder item. I think it's called a hyper oscillator or something, but you'll see it on the quest and you'll see it on Wowhead. Basically, you have to get engineers who've gone to the dead mines and got a recipe to make it for you. The average cost of one of the items on my server at the moment is 90 gold. The cost for an engineer to make them from scratch, so all of the bronze bars into the item, was about 40 silver. So 1 gold, 40 silver, you do the maths, have an engineer make them for you. And really, you're going to do that. So you're going to make these items, and then you want to go to Stone Talon, which is here, and you're basically going to farm. There's light shredders, and then there's 2 quest mobs, XT4 and XT6. You're going to get this item, which is the shredder auto salvage unit from the engineer, and you're going to use those on the corpses of those shredders. Now, what those shredders basically will do is they'll either drop one of the quest items you need, or they'll drop a graze and trash. So they can fail to give you the item you want. You need 16. And when I took 20 of these over there, I had 15 successes and 5 failures, so I couldn't get the item. But, so I would recommend taking more. I would say take 22, maybe, rather than just the 16 that you need. Okay, so I would take more than you need. It's a highly contested farm. There's a line of about 3 of them that spawn just like here, along this ridge. I would just stay around there. It's also where the XT4 mob spawns, and really, I would stay around there for a simple reason, which is that Lobby Horde... Well, firstly, there's the 3 light shredders, but there's also the fact that Lobby Horde players do often kill XT4, but they don't have this item. If anyone else kills a shredder but doesn't use this item on it, you can still run over to the cops, and you can still you can still run over to the corpse and you can still use the item on it and get the loot. Okay, so that's still an option. So just because something is dead already, don't assume someone has used this item on there. There's lots of low level quests running around there and people will kill them, so you can still use this item and get the salvage that you want. That's kind of really the last note. So once you've done that, you'll get 16. The last note, just to note, they are all auction houseable. So if you find yourself missing one or something like that, you can go to the auction house and buy one. I said I got 15 successes and 5 failures, so I only had 15 items. Rather than going all the way back to Stone Talon with more of these and salvaging more shredders, I just bought the last item off the auction house. So just to be aware, if you're missing one of the ordnance or one of the shredder items, you can just go to the auction house and buy it. But obviously that's a lot more gold, and despite the fact that you can quest for gold, you're not going to be swimming in gold, so it is a good idea to do it more efficiently. Okay, so that's it. That's a cover of where I'm set up as a tank rogue. I have tanked stockades, I've tanked Wailing Caverns, I've done some really fast Deadmine runs. My overall impression of Tank Rogue is very positive, having tanked in WoW for years. You have the same problems that all tanks do at early level, which is you can't really keep threat on 4 or 5 mobs. Paladins don't have this problem, but most other tanks do. But that's kind of solved because you basically let the DPS murder one of the mobs, and then you keep threat on the other 2, and you kind of just balance it out that way. So you're always keeping threat on the majority of mobs, taking the majority of damage, and there's always going to be something that you're not tanking, but that's fine because it dies pretty quickly. So tanking is great. It feels really engaged. Just remember to keep that Blade Flurry up. Often the first thing you do in any fight is going to be main gauche, one target, so you have threat on them, and then Blade Dance straight away, and then you're going to sort of build threat with Sinister Strike on another target, taunt where possible. Just try and avoid taunting without spending your combo points, but sometimes you're just going to need to, right? If a mob is running towards your healer, drop the combo points, taunt, you can always build more up later, and just hope that DPS are focused. But don't be too stressed if you do lose threat on 1 or 2 mobs. One of the things that I've found just from this experience, especially with the runes, is that a lot of classes are much more powerful than they would have been in vanilla when I played it, or even when I played vanilla again on the re-release of WoW Classic servers. So you will lose threat more often just because mages are running around with insane AoE, druids are running around with insane damage. You're just going to lose threat more often, but healers are also powered up a bit more, so just don't be too stressed about it. Right. Okay, that's all I'm going to do. This turned in from a how do you solo guide into also just a rundown of Tank Rogue everything, but I keep getting loads of questions in my whispers, and I want to clarify.